Okay, so now we're going to learn about the elimination method. So it's another method to find the point of intersection. So this is the third way we're learning. So we first learn to graph. So we graph the two lines and we figure out where they cross, right? The second one is we just did substitution. So it's where we're taking one equation and subbing it in to the other one to find out our 2 points. Well, I guess it's our 1 point, but our 2 variables, so our x and our y. Now, elimination is we're getting rid of something, right? It's to eliminate it. So what we're going to do first is to do an exercise. So as you can see, I've already done a couple of them. So what goes in the box to get 0, right? So 5 plus -5 gives us 0. Same over here. 5 minus 5, not -5, 5 minus 5 is 0. So -4 plus what would give us 0? -4 plus +4 is going to give us 0. Because a minus and a plus gives us 0. It's the same number. So 7 plus -7 is going to give us 0. We'll do one more. I'm going to do this one here. So -3 minus what is going to give us 0? Well, -3 minus 3 is going to give us -6, right? So we have to make sure that a negative minus a negative gives us a positive, right? So this is just like writing -3, because a negative and a negative gives us a positive. So it's just like writing that. It gives us 0. So now we're going to scroll down into, just pass by all of this. Okay, so we've currently looked at graphing, substitution, and now we're on elimination, okay? So we're going to do an example together. This is in your notes, so I would recommend following along with it. So what we're going to do is try to find the point of intersection of 2x plus y equals 9 and 3x minus y equals 16. So the first thing we're going to do when it comes to elimination is we're going to stack them on top of each other. So what elimination is doing is we're either going to add or subtract something to get rid of it, okay? So we're going to stack them on top of each other, just like this. And now we're going to take a look at the equations themselves. So what we're trying to do is get rid of a specific variable, okay? So when we take a look at these two, we're going to decide whether we're going to add these two equations together or whether you're going to subtract these two equations together. So when we look here, we can see that there's a positive y and a minus y. So when there are opposite signs, we add them together. So if you see a positive and a negative, you're adding them together. If you see the same sign, so if this was say we saw a 2x plus y equals 9 and a 3x plus y equals 16. If we added these two together, we're not getting rid of a variable, right? We're not getting rid of x and we're not getting rid of y. We're going to end up with 5x and 2y. So that's just going to make things harder for us. So we would need to subtract these two together to get rid of one of the variables. Okay? So we stacked them on top of each other, and now we're just going to add them together. So 2x plus 3y, or 3x, oh my goodness, 3x gives us 5x. Y plus y, negative y, gives us 0. And then 9 plus 16 gives us 25. Okay, now we want x by itself. So we have to get rid of this 5 over here. So we need to divide both sides by 5. And when we divide both sides by 5, we get x alone, so x is 5. So now what we have to do is take our x and plug it back into one of the equations. Now again, just like in substitution, you don't need to do a specific equation. You can pick whichever equation you would like. So we decided to sub it into the very first one. 2x plus y equals 9. So we sub the 5 into there, into the x spot, and we get our multiplication here. 2 times 5 is 10, plus y equals 9. So to get rid of this 10, because we need y alone, we have to minus 10 from both sides. When we minus 10 from both sides, we get y equals negative 1. So our point of intersection is x is 5 and y is negative 1. Now we're going to go through this question here together. Or on my baby whiteboard is what I mean. So I'm going to jump you guys over here. And what I've already done is I've already lined them on top of each other. This is a 7, by the way. So now we need to decide whether we are going to add or subtract this. Okay, so when we take a look at this, if we add them together, are we getting rid of any of the variables? So are we getting rid of x or are we getting rid of y? Well, when we add them together, if we add them here, we're going to be getting 14x. Well, that doesn't get rid of x. Okay, well maybe if we look at the next one, if we add them together, are we getting rid of y? No, because if we add them together, we get 5y. So let's take a look at subtraction. If we minus them, 7 minus 7, it gets rid of x. So we're going to minus these two. Okay, so we're just going to do the math. So 7 minus 7 gives us 0. 3y minus 2y gives us 1y. And 14 minus 21 gives us negative 7. So if we make it pretty, y equals negative 7. Okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to sub this into whichever equation we want. So I'm going to pick the first one. So we're going to do 7x plus 3 and sub our y in there, negative 7 equals 14. Okay, and now we're going to look at BEDMAS. So BEDMAS, we're going to take a look at these two because they're multiplied. We're going to do that first. So 3 times negative 7 is negative 21. Okay, equals 14. So now we're going to try and get this 7x alone. So for us to do that, we need to get rid of the 21. So we're going to add 21 to both sides, which gets rid of that there. And when we add 21 to both sides, we get 7x equals 35. Okay? And now what we're going to do is get rid of the 7 in front of the x because we want x by itself. We need to figure out what x is. So when we do that, we divide both sides by 7. okay, which gives us x equaling 5. So our point of intersection is when x is 5 and y is -7. We keep wanting to go. This is like opposite of me. Okay? Does that make a whole lot of sense to you guys? Let's see if we got it right. Yeah, we did. Okay. So if you want to pause the video here and practice some, you can. But what I'm going to teach you next is when you're going to have to do a little bit of multiplication in with this. So again, if this is the time where you want to practice those questions, pause it and practice them. But we're going to move on to, something's going to pop up, just a heads up. It's not how I wanted it. We're going to move on to the second part. Okay? So, when we look at this question, why would this be tricky to solve? Okay, well, none of these can be easily added or subtracted to get rid of a variable, right? Like we can't add them together, because if we add them together, this is going to give us 5x and 9y. And if we minus them together, well, that's not going to get rid of anything either. So something that we have to do is we're going to have to do some multiplication. Okay? So we're going to do a warm-up. We're going to use multiplication to get the numbers to be the same. So I'm just going to click on this here so we can do them together. So when I take a look at 25 and 5, we're going to need to multiply the 5 by something to get 25, right? So 5 times 5 equals 25. So we're going to multiply this by 5. And if we take a look at B, what multiplied by 6 is going to get us 24? Well, 4 multiplied by 6 is 24. Then we'll go to C, so -2 and 20. So what do we have to multiply 2 by to get -20? Well, -2 times -10 is going to give us, or not -10, sorry, 10 is going to give us -20, because if we times it by a negative, it would be a positive. Huh, okay. So now we're going to look down here, and we can't really times 4 by anything to get 6, or 6 by anything to get 4. So what can we do? You can multiply this side by 4 and this side by 6, but that's going to also give us a big number. We can also find that 6 times 2 is going to give us 12. And 4 times 3 is going to give us 12. Right? We're trying to get them equaling the same. So again, we could have done it, so 6 times 4. 6 times 4 is going to give us 24. So we're just going to be working with bigger numbers. And this side would be 4 times 6. It's still going to give us 24. Okay, so we can figure this out. Let's go see if we got those right. We most certainly did. Okay, so we're gonna slide down. Okay, so something about these equations is they're not always gonna be pretty, okay? So we're not always going to see the nice equations where it gets rid of x or y right away. So we're not always gonna see 2x plus 5y equals 0 and negative 2x plus 6 equals 1, right? So we're not here. We can easily add them together and automatically get rid of the x value. We're going to see some that look a little bit like this. So when we stack them on top of each other, we take a look and we're like, nothing can be eliminated quite that easily, because if we add these together, we're going to get 5x and we're going to get 9y. So we're still stuck with 2 letters. And if we minus them, we're going to get negative 1, and we're going to get, I can't even do my math thing right now, not rid of this one. So what we have to do is we have to multiply one or both equations to help us get rid of a variable. Okay, so we're going to take a look at what we would need to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it and times both of these, or times our first equation by 2. Because if we take a look at our 9y and our 18y, 9 can be multiplied by 2 to get 18, right? So if we multiply both sides of this top equation, this whole equation, if we multiply it by 2, we get a negative 18y, which allows us to now get rid of that variable. Okay, so we multiplied this whole top one by 2, which gives us 4x minus 18y equals negative 24. So we did the whole equation. And we line up our other equation under it. And because we have a minus 18 and a plus 18, we add them together. So we're going to add 4x plus 3x equals 7x. Negative 18y plus 18y gives us 0. And then negative 24 plus negative 18 gives us negative 42. So now we want to get x alone. So we have to divide both sides by 7. So 7x divided by 7 gives us x. Negative 42 divided by 7 gives us negative 6. So from here, we're going to go back and substitute our negative 6 into either of our equations. Again, doesn't matter which one you choose, but you just got to pick one. So we're going to sub negative 6, what we just found, into our first equation. So we're going to plug that in. And we get 2 times negative 6, which gives us negative 12, minus 9y equals negative 12. So we're going to try and get this by itself because we want to figure out what y is, so we have to get rid of the 12 on this side. So we're going to plus 12 on both sides. So we get negative 9y on this side and 0 on the other. So to get rid of the 9 in front, the negative 9 in front, we now have to divide both sides by negative 9. So negative 9y divided by negative 9. 0 divided by negative 9, well, we get y equals 0. So our point of intersection is negative 6 and 0. So we just write that down and box it if you'd like. So we're going to go through another one together. Let me write this baby down. So we have 4x minus 3y equals 25. And negative 3x plus 8y equals 10. Okay, so now we're going to bring it back to me. So I've written it down here. So what we're going to take a look at is if we add these two together, we're not going to get rid of a variable. If we add these two together, we're not going to get rid of a variable. If we minus them together, are we going to get rid of a variable? No. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it so we can do that nicely. So what I look at doing is if I times this whole thing by 3 and this whole thing by 4, it will allow us to get rid of this variable here. Because if we do times by 3 and times by 4, this allows us to get these two as the same number. So, actually I am going to continue to use that here. So 4x times 3 is 12, right? And then 3y times 3, so 3 times 3 is 9. And 3 times 25 is 27. No, 75. Don't know why I said 27, because that doesn't even make sense. It's 75. Okay, so then we're going to do the next one. And we're going to do 3x times 4, which gives us negative 12x. So now we're going to be able to eliminate the x. And then I'm going to go this way a little bit more. So then we got to do the next number. So 8 times 4 is 32. And 10 times 4 is 40. And we already have them lined up, so we can just take a look there, and we need to decide whether we're going to add or subtract. So if we add these two together, because they're opposite signs, it's going to get rid of that number, right? Because if we add 12 and negative 12, we're getting 0. So we get rid of that one. And then we do 32, positive 32 minus negative 9y, or I guess the other way around, so it's plus. So we get 23y equals 40 and 75 is 115. I'm asking you like it's a question. And how many times? Cool. So if we take a look at this, so negative y plus 32y is 23y. That's not what I did on my calculator. What we now have to do is divide both sides by 23. That is what I did on my calculator. And so this gets rid of this here, so we now have y equals, and this is 5. All right, let's double check that I got that right. Yeah, I did. Come back here. So we got that right. So now we're going to take this y, this way. We're going to take the y, and we're going to substitute it into the equation. So we don't have a lot of room over here. So I'm going to erase this part here. And we're going to substitute it into the first equation. So we have 4x minus 3, and we found the y, 5 equals 25. So 4x, we gotta do the multiplication here, minus 15, because 3 times 5 is 15, equals 25. So now we gotta get the 15 away from here. So we have to add 15 to both sides, because negative 15 plus 15 gives us 0. And so we gotta do whatever we do to the one side, we have to do the other. So we get 4x equals 40. And we now have to divide by 4 from both sides, because we need to get x by itself. So x equals 10. So our point of intersection is this and this together. So it is 10, 5. Okay, so let's bring this back up. And we got all of our mathing done there. Erase that. So what I would recommend is you going and trying your practice questions before continuing on with this video, because what we're going to be doing is getting into some word problems, just like we did on the last for substitution. Okay, so pause it right now,